Good afternoon, late afternoon, maybe early evening for some, maybe early morning for others. But this is Anthony Wall Street Trader. Welcome to the Graph review in terms of where I expect and see possible entry exit points into the graph. Just want to disclaim a few things. This is my first time doing a the graph video, which is a cryptocurrency. So just please note that this is not financial advice. It's purely educational. So there are things in here that might not be accurately represented. So don't take anything, as pure fact. Do your own research. Intraday updates are below. Twitter link. You'll get intraday updates in terms of my entry exit points related to the graph and other crypto investments that I'm tracking on this channel, but also give you some market updates if I see anything astronomical. And lastly, I wanted to point out that there's a subscription button below. If you want to subscribe, you can see this, and I do another video for News Cipher. So I'll be starting out doing these once a day in the evening, and we'll see where it goes. Anyway, let's move forward. What is the graph? Let's just quickly run through this. I'm going to take not more than 2 minutes to talk about this slide and the next one. But just as a primer, everyone should understand what the graph actually is before they even think about putting any money into it. But it's like an indexing and query layer. If you're not in technology, it's really just a way in which, like, think of Google. You have to like access data sets, big data sets. They're all over the place. So you have people who own the data or the content, that type of thing, where you want to allow people to access your data. They build certain mechanisms called APIs, or they call them subgraphs in the graph. But there's a way in which they build it out so that the world can get access to their data. And they make it in a way that it's so fast to have access to it because they are using the graph. Data consumers are the people actually, all these applications that want to access this data, right? So it's almost like the browser. That's the piece. One of the applications is a browser, as an example. You want to access data. So in this case, it's more like industrial applications and things like that that developers can easily access the data. It's a simple tool called GraphQL. It's been around in the Facebook period back in 2015. It was actually built by people in that world and used by them heavily. But it is a streamlined way to figure out how to get access to data, and it makes it very easy for developers to use. It's incredibly adopted. In addition to that, the response times, because it's indexed, it means it's faster. So instead of it taking a long time, it'll be very fast. The decentral environment adds a whole level of complexity that I don't think people really appreciate. That being said, let's look at the history. GraphQL started on Facebook. It's a component of the graph. It is not the graph in its entirety. The graph actually is the protocol to use GraphQL on a decentralized environment. So back then, when Facebook was using it, it was using kind of like dedicated machinery, etc. It wasn't a decentralized environment the way in terms of what we're looking at on the Ethereum blockchain and others. The Graph ICO took place in October 2020, had 4,500 participants, raising $12 million. The tokens were a measly 3 cents per graph. It's now $1.20 something. Anyway, I wish I got in there. That was never my entry point. In December 2020, the Graph mainnet was launched, and when it was launched, GRT became available for everyone to trade. And right now, as we speak, I would say these numbers are probably slightly older. I think this is taken from a month prior, but there's at least 12,600 subgraphs that have been deployed, or data sets that have been deployed by many, many developers for applications such as Uniswap, Synthetics. These are big names. Uniswap, Aave, Decentraland. This is Mana, really. Some people will know it as Mana. Aave is amazing. I don't know if anyone's been to the Aave site, but they do a lot of financial. You can. It's like a bank basically for cryptocurrencies, different cryptocurrencies. I could swap one for the other, et cetera, et cetera. So heaps and heaps of use cases on the graph, and there's plethoras of detail online. So feel free to go nuts. Here are the sources. I'll put these on the link below. And just so everyone understands, the way this works is you have developers who curate, or the ones who create the subgraphs and give it out to the world, so the data owners, so to speak. And then the consumers, they have to pay for the data somehow and indexing, right? So being able to, monetize this, someone's got to start paying this. And it's the consumer that typically pays for it. The receiver, the rewards are the delegators and the indexers. The indexers do the real work. It's the node, the indexing node is the one that figures out how to speed up the access to the data. These guys make money, financial rewards, we'll call it inflation. I'll go through a schedule another day, not for this video. We don't have much time. Delegators are the ones who actually do the staking of their crypto. So these two sometimes work hand in hand, getting rewards. Okay, let's go into the market, because I think that's really what people are more interested about, as am I. The graph is a really good use case. I'm a big buyer of it in the future. So where are we trading right now? We're at $1.24. Bitcoin's been taking a turd since the beginning of the day, but has since kind of pumped up back to 44,000. It was down to 42 again. We'll run into that. But for those who know my work from the News Cypher videos, you'll know that I believe that the underlying components to any cryptocurrency relative to the US dollar is made up of two factors. The cryptocurrency relative to Bitcoin, which is in this case the graph to Bitcoin, or GRT BTC, and the benchmark of the entire crypto market, which is Bitcoin US dollars, or Bitcoin. So going here, so let's just look at this pattern here. So, right now it looks like we are on a trend in this channel. And this channel actually have started out, it's actually been well behaved for more than a couple of months here, more than 3 months actually, going from February 11th all the way to now. Now the question is, what's going to happen here? Well, if you do what you're supposed to do, typically in channels, you would buy the base and sell at the top, right? I mean, that's what some people do. Some people sell it down here, and everyone's got a different way to do this. I personally am a big fan of this long term. I am not in any graph investment right now. I may plan on doing so, not in the not too long future. And I'll go through buy points probably in tomorrow night's episode. I don't think I'm buying anything today with the graph until I start a little more research for me before I start putting any money down. But I think a 10 to 15% entry, I will allocate a certain amount for the graph. And for those who know my work with the News Cypher videos, I will then say I'll take a portion of that total investment that I have dedicated to the graph, but I will use only a certain amount to do my initial entry, and I'll dollar cost average it, because it's the right thing to do if you're smart. Now, at 124, let's go to the two components that I mentioned that make up the graph US dollar chart. Now, this is the graph relative to Bitcoin. This is the strength of the graph relative to Bitcoin. This is an important chart. Now, it looks like it has a basing pattern here. It looks like it's been consolidating since March, probably March 12th, in this range here. I can't put a channel on it yet, but it's hard to even look at a descending triangle here. But I think it's, it could just be a support line here that seems to be pretty solid. We have to see how this plays out. But again, you might want to look for a buy when it hits 25 in this range, maybe 26, depends on, your risk profile. On the Bitcoin chart, if you're watching the News Cypher videos, you probably heard this 1,000 times. Elon Musk has given us the gift, but not the gift to the extent that I think he can continue to give. So let's see where we're at right now. We have bounced. I've had a couple of support items. And for those that are not familiar with where I think this is going to go, I believe that the support area between 40 to 42K makes sense. I don't see it really going much further than that. And if it does, I'm not expecting it to go all the way down to JP Morgan's target, which was 50% off its high. So where we stand right now is we are bouncing off of the support 2 area, which for the last few months I've been saying that I believe this will hit within there. We've hit it, but for me to add any more in my other investment, I'd want to see it come down a little more. I still think we might actually hit 41 over the next few days. I'm hoping for another Elon tweet. It's not unlike Elon to not tweet. So expect another tweet from him, and let Tweety Bird let us know when we can buy the dip. So I'm expecting this to go down to 41,000 over the next few days, and if it doesn't, oh well. But we'll have another chance. So that's pretty much all I wanted to cover for right now. No investments in the graph for me yet. Not to say I don't believe in it. It's just I want to find a good entry point, and I need a little more time. So I will not go on emotion. I will go on observation and a methodical approach to investing, which is not all in on the first try. It will be methodical. Anyway, hope you liked the video. If you want to subscribe, tomorrow we'll start talking about entry points, potential entry points for sure. And I'll post that one tomorrow night. Have a good night, everyone.